success tradition.
It has been the heavy lift workhorse, supporting the missions that no other vehicle could, and have made a tremendous difference for this nation.
The assets that we launch with Delta are crucial to our warfighter and have really allowed us to sustain our capability not only in
Success
space,
tradition.
but
It
also
has
just
been
on the ground
heavy
and
lift
the entire world.
workhorse,
and
supporting the
that
missions that no
That
other
ability
vehicle could,
to impact the
and have
nation
made a,
in what we can
tremendous
do,
difference
our
for this nation.
technologies, as well as our reach into space.
The assets that
it's
we
just
launch
an
with
honor.
Delta
There's no
are
other way to
crucial
say
to our
it.
warfighter and have
Look
really
at
allowed
what
us to
we, as
sustain
part of
our
the team,
capability
have
not
done
only
to
in
success
space,
tradition.
life
but
on
also
Earth.
just on the ground
Heavy
and
lift
the entire
workhorse,
world.
supporting the missions
The first launch
could,
To
kind of kept
impact
your
the
fingers crossed and your toes crossed. We all stood out in the main part of the factory.
Into space.
The
theaters
assets that
It's
we
just
launch
an
with
honor.
Delta
There's no
are
other way to
crucial
say
to our
it.
warfighter and have
do
really
and
allowed
say
us
whatever
we, as
makes
sustain
you
our
comfortable.
capability
have
not
done
only
to
in
success
space,
tradition.
life
but
on
also
Earth.
just on the ground
Heavy
and
lift
the entire
workhorse,
right
world.
outside
supporting
the
the
door
missions
The
of the
first
Delta
launch
Operations
could
To
kind
Center.
of kept
impact
your
the-
fingers
and feeling the
crossed and your toes
vibration
crossed.
and
We all
just
stood out in the
amazement.
main part of the factory.
Into space.
The
theaters.
assets that we
It's just
launch
an
with
honor.
Delta
There's no
are
other way to
crucial
say
to
it.
our warfighter and
Do
really
and
allowed
say
us to
whatever
we, as
makes
sustain
you
our
part of the team,
capability
have
not
done
only
to
in
success
space,
tradition.
life
but
on
also
Earth.
just on the ground and
Heavy
the entire
right
world.
outside the door of the
first
Delta
launch
Operations
could
To
Center.
impact the
and feeling the vibration
toes
and
crossed. We all
just
stood out in the
amazement.
main part of the factory.
Into space.
The assets that we
It's just
launch
an
with
honor.
Delta
There's no
are
other way to
crucial
say
to our
it.
warfighter and
Do
really
and
allowed
say
us
whatever
we,
makes
as
you
sustain our
part
capability
have
not
done
only
to
in
success
space,
tradition.
life
but
on
also
Earth.
just on the ground and
Heavy
the entire
activities. So I've seen it from a unique perspective. Those memories will always stick out.
We took a lot of lessons from Delta. Aluminum skins, machined, brake formed, welded together with friction stir welding. The first time we used that was on the Delta IV program.
One lesson learned from Delta IV that will stick for our future launches is our record of mission success and our focus on mission success, making sure that all of our launches accomplished what we wanted and delivered the payload for our customers.
The teamwork that we built across all the different suppliers and across the program itself. It's a really complex vehicle, and so being able to bring that whole team together and deliver Delta for that many years has been brought over into the Vulcan program and will continue to live on.
Whether it be in the design center, the operations center, the production center, we're all a big team, and those teams work together, and it's magic.
Launch conductor is only one little cog in the whole process. This is a team sport, and the team has done nothing but a phenomenal job.
Taking pride in your work and treating everything as if it's the most important job you'll ever do is something that I will keep with me for the rest of my career.
Well, it's bittersweet, of course. We all thought we could do this a lot longer because we love it so much.
It's been a wonderful rocket to work on over these years, and I'm going to miss it.
It is the most amazing rocket I could ever imagine, this Delta IV Heavy.
I'm just proud to have been a part of this team and was able to better my career by working alongside an amazing team.
The legacy of Delta will live on in the Vulcan rocket and in the people that make it a reality and have taken the best of what Delta has accomplished and carry that forward into the future.
After liftoff, the Delta IV Heavy will head east from Space Launch Complex 37. Here's a look at today's ascent.
To mitigate the fireball created by the hydrogen-burning Delta IV Heavy rocket, the staggered engine start sequence begins with ignition of the launch table HPOs, burning off the excess hydrogen injected into the flame duct. Next, the starboard Delta IV ROFI lights, igniting its RS-68A engine. Then, the center and port RS-68A engines ignite to generate more than 2.1 million pounds of total thrust to lift the 1.6 million pound triple-core rocket off the pad. Shortly after liftoff, Delta begins a pitchover to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the pressure the vehicle experiences during flight. Delta then reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound, followed by the rocket reaching maximum dynamic pressure as it travels through Earth's atmosphere. With propellant depleted in the port and starboard boosters, the engine shut down and the boosters jettisoned to shed their weight. The remaining booster engine then throttles to full power to maximize performance against gravity losses. Once propellant levels deplete in the center booster, the engine shuts down and the booster is jettisoned from the second stage. The vehicle now weighs approximately 6% of what it did at liftoff. Following jettison of the center booster, the Delta Cryogenic Second Stage, or DCSS, main engine ignites. During ascent, NROL-70 is protected inside a 5-meter diameter metallic payload fairing. After traveling through the densest part of Earth's atmosphere, the payload fairing is jettisoned. The Delta IV Cryogenic Second Stage carries the last payload to launch on a Delta IV rocket to its final orbital destination, where it will begin its national security mission.
As we continue the countdown to launch, let's head back over to Ben Chilton on the causeway.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm currently joined by a number of people who are very excited to watch the last liftoff of this magnificent rocket. We're about 1.5 miles from Slick 37, and when we reach T0, it'll take about 8 seconds for the sound to reach us, though we'll already be able to see Delta lifting off the pad. Currently, the weather conditions look great for launch, but I'll pass it back to you, Andrea, for the Space Launch Delta weather forecast for today.
Thanks, Ben. The forecast for this afternoon's launch is looking good. The probability of violating launch constraints is 10%. Ground winds are 14 to 22 knots out of the southeast, and the temperature is 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Our primary concerns for launch today are ground winds and the cumulus crowd rule violation.
RLM, verified red line monitor and vent table are in the correct configuration per terminal count. Verified. L-9 minutes. Performing a hold authority comm check. LSIC RF. Loud and clear. Loud and clear as well. ATD.
ATD copies loud and clear.
Loud and clear as well. Comm check complete.
Launch on time verified.
Roger. LC switch to ready position. All steps are complete prior to the status check. L-8 minutes.
We remain in the planned 15-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, launch conductor Scott Barney will pull the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 28 engineers and managers are pulled for system status and readiness to proceed. This is the final status check for all Delta vehicle systems, ground systems, spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range. The vehicle system readiness pull includes electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants. Let's listen in as Scott Barney performs the final pulling.
L-7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. First stage systems, propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Second stage systems, locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
COM. Go. GCQ.
Go.
Operation support.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Red line monitor.
Go.
Mechanical engineering advisor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Ops safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count.
Element
6. ALC verified T0 is set or at 16:53 Zulu.
Verified.
Polling is
MEQ,
complete and the team is go for launch. From T-minus 4 minutes until liftoff, you'll hear Scott Barney and the team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank levels and pressures in the 3 boosters and DCSS, in addition to arming the flight termination system. At T-minus 1 minute, the Range Operations Commander confirms the range is in a green condition for launch. At T-minus 15 seconds, the launch table HBOs at the base of the rocket are ignited to burn off excess hydrogen. At T-minus 7 seconds, the starboard engine is ignited. At T-minus 5 seconds, the port and center engines are ignited. Once the Delta IV Heavy lifts off, you'll hear flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
TD, verify SV configured for launch.
TD on net 1, SV configured for launch.
Roger.
TD out.
Swing arm lock pins pulled.
Roger. All steps are complete prior to terminal count.
This is Delta Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting. Minus 355.
Ground pyros enabled.
350.
The countdown clock is resumed and we are go for launch at 12:53 p.m. Eastern. With liftoff approaching, we're raising the volume on our launch team so you can hear the final preps taking place.
Minus 332. $325.
Second stage lock, secure at flight level.
Minus 307. Minus 249.
FTS internal.
CBC locks at flight pressure and flight level.
T-minus 2 minutes. The rocket, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch.
Vehicle internal. Launch sequencer start.
If you just joined us, I'm Andrea Lenhoff. I'm your host for the final Delta launch today. Liftoff is currently scheduled for 12:53 p.m. Eastern.
FCS launch enabled. FTS armed.
Minus 120.
OCUs armed. FCS count started.
T-minus 1 minute.
Go for main engine
T-minus
start.
1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
Minus 50.
Second stage LH2 secure at flight level.
Minus 30. Status check.
Go Delta.
Go NROL-70. Minus 15.
Rope ignition.
10.
T-minus
Pressure start.
10,
8,
9, 8, 7,
5,
6,
4,
5. We have ignition. 2, 1.
Liftoff.
And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, carrying NROL-70 for the National Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
Or is at min power level. Port and starboard strap-on still operating at enhanced power level.
You are hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Parameters look good. Flight control services look good. And we have fired the isolation pyro valve on second stage reactor control system. And first step in readying that system for operation. Engines continue to look good. And we've passed through Mach 1 and Mach 2. Normal strips there, everything looks good. All three boosters operating as expected. All three boosters operating as expected. Everything looks good. And we fired the pyro valve, pressurizing the reactor control system on the second stage. Pressure's coming up. Everything looks good there. What we're looking for is going to closed loop guidance. After 3 or 4 seconds, and we've started closed loop guidance. Vehicle maneuvering as expected. All three engines continue to look good. And we are 3 minutes to Corbeco. And the vehicle is now 1.5 its liftoff weight. All three engines operating normally, everything looking good. And the vehicle's now 29 nautical miles in altitude, 64 miles downrange, traveling at 5,300 miles per hour. Everything continues to look good. And we've just passed through the Kármán line, reaching 100 kilometers in altitude. Everything looking good. 2 minutes to Corbeco. Coming up on throttle down on the strap-ons. And we've begun throttling down the strap-on boosters in preparation for cutoff. We've now achieved min-power level on the strap-ons. and cutoff. We have cutoff port and starboard boosters coming up on strap-on, and we have strap-on separation. Disturbances look good. Throttled up the core booster. We're now at EPL on the single stage booster. And we've re-enabled steering following separation of the strap-ons. Everything looking good.
We just heard confirmation of port and starboard booster jettison. We have about a minute and a half until we reach our next mission event, booster engine cutoff.
On the RL-10. One minute to core BECO. Housing temps respond as expected on the RL-10, and we've started LH2 boost phase chill down. Housing temps responding as expected. Flight control disturbances are small, and the core RS-68 continues to operate as expected. About 20 seconds to our next mark event, throttling down the core booster in preparation for BECO. And core booster is throttling down, coming up on booster engine cutoff. And we have BECO. Cutoff on the booster, everything looking good. And state operation occurred right as expected. NEDs have deployed. And we have pre-start, start, and full thrust. RL-10 is up and running normally. Everything looking good. Enabled steering of the second stage. Second stage operating normally. Coming up on bearing separation. About 10 seconds away from fairing sep. 5 seconds to fairing sep, and we have fairing separation. Disturbances look good. Upper stage is operating normally. And once again, steering has been re-enabled after the separation event.
This is Delta Mission Control at T plus 6 minutes and 55 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Rob Gannon confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. While the mission has just begun, we did just see liftoff of the last Delta rocket. Here's ULA President and CEO Tory Bruno.
Well, good afternoon. A lot of you know that the Delta IV Heavy is, of course, the most metal of all rockets, setting itself on fire before it blasts into space. But I also want to talk about its tremendous contribution to our nation, to exploration, to national security. The Delta IV Heavy still today flies missions that no other rocket can fly. Soon Vulcan will pick up that mantle, and we're going to retire this venerable rocket that has made so much important work for our country. And I want to thank everyone who has been involved with the Delta IV Heavy. We have many employees who are here for the very first Delta IV launch, who are still here now for the last Delta IV launch to send off this great vehicle into its well-earned retirement. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, I'm now joined by ULA's Launch System Director, Bill Cullen. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Andrea.
We just saw a really magnificent launch for the last time. This has a little bit of a special meaning to you, is my understanding, because you started your career working on the Delta program.
I did.
So tell us a little bit about what this experience means to you.
Well, so it is bittersweet,
Yeah.
but it's very exciting, and it's a great evolution. And everything that Delta has done, Delta 2, Delta 4, Atlas V is being done better on Vulcan, and so this is a great evolutionary step, and it is bittersweet to see the last one, but there's great things ahead. So.
It is. It's exciting too. I know you and I have worked on Vulcan for a long time. So it's exciting to see it, but bittersweet, obviously, to be the last one. This Delta Heavy configuration is obviously a fan favorite. I know you've seen the most heavy metal of rockets. So definitely a unique and cool configuration. What is it about the Delta Heavy that makes it so special?
Well, so two things. It all boils down to the mission capability, so which is lift capability in many ways, and then on orbit. But the lift capability, the no solid motors, pure liquid, the 3 strap-ons, the slow, majestic liftoff is just inspiring.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it. You know, it makes your heart go.
I really felt it. Like, I feel like more than any other rocket launch, you really feel it in your bones and in the vehicle. So it's just such a cool thing to see, and kind of sad for it to be the last one. So speaking of last, let's talk a little bit about first. So earlier in January, we experienced our first Vulcan rocket. Went off pretty flawlessly, in my personal opinion, which is kind of a big deal for the first one. We also have an exciting time coming up with the first crew flight test coming up here very shortly, actually. So with all those firsts, you know, we are looking at one of our lasts with the Delta configuration in the Delta Heavy. So what would you say was this program's greatest accomplishment?
The greatest is hard to pick.
Just pick one.
So if you look at all the national security things, intelligence, the GPS constellation, everybody uses GPS, right? And you know, the mapping capabilities. I mean, you want to know where you're driving. You want to see what your house looks like in satellite view. Everybody can do that in part because of the satellites.
And every day, we use it every day, right?
Every day it's touched all of us. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's such a cool thing. I mean, working at ULA, you know, just to be a part of that small experience that we have here, but know the huge impact that it has. I mean, just an exciting time.
Yeah, we're enablers.
We are enablers, and we work on rockets, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, that's all the questions that I have for you today, but I do appreciate you joining us, and just really thank you for being here for this exciting last, and looking forward to a year of firsts for us and many, many more coming here in the future.
Absolutely, to mission success.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, we're just about to log up here for today, but before we do, I do want to thank Ben Chilton and Rob Gannon for their support of today's broadcast. You can follow more about ULA and learn more about our rockets at ulalaunch.com. However, before we log off, let's look at one more majestic look of that last Delta launch, lifting off the pad for the very last time. Thanks for joining us. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We have ignition. 2, 1. And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, carrying NROL-70 for the National Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.